Hello, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time today for our PD short, learning about Hispanic Serving Institution, otherwise known as HSIs. My name is Yvonne Espinosa. I will be your hostess for today's PD short, spending the next 10 to 15 minutes highlighting the important facts about HSIs so that you're empowered to share those with your students. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I identify as a proud Mexican American woman and business owner and the daughter of a migrant farm worker. A little bit about my professional background. I spent 19 years working in public Title I and alternative high schools in Austin, Texas as a full-time college counselor. I was part of the counseling department at both of those schools and served as a sole college counselor for the entire student population and spent my time building those college programs from the ground up while still working in schools, as many fellow educators do. I worked 2 and 3 jobs on the side and started my own consulting business to afford the rising cost of living here in Austin. During the pandemic, when my position was eliminated, I decided to pursue my business full-time as a college counselor and business owner. And I just celebrated my 11th year as a full-time independent educational consultant in Austin, Texas. And as you can see from the slide, I also spend some time in national leadership as well. But we're not here to talk about me today. We're here to talk about these amazing institutions known as Hispanic Serving Institutions. So the actual definition, the technical definition, according to the federal government, is public or non-for-profit institutions of higher education that enroll 25% or more undergraduate Hispanic full-time or full-time equivalent students, have low educational and general expenditures, and a high enrollment of needy students. And that was from the Higher Education Amendments of 1998. What this definition doesn't tell you is the incredible impact these institutions have for Latinos and Hispanic students and other underrepresented populations as it relates to social and economic mobility. They also offer cultural validating experiences through the resources and programming they have for students in meeting them where they are. They intentionally serve Hispanic students. So that's a difference from some other institutions. These institutions are very intentional about serving the Latino students that are there by providing them with resources that meet the needs of whatever those students meet the needs that are specific to their backgrounds and specific to a positive racial climate for these students. So these are also very inclusive environments. But the big thing to know, and we're going to talk more about this, is the economic mobility and social mobility that they are offering Latinos in this country. So let's talk a little bit about the history of HSIs and their evolution. So they were first introduced to policy leaders in the 1980s, largely because of the growing population of Latinos and Hispanic people in the United States. And these were due to grassroots efforts, which were trying to put attention on these institutions to also give them funding, because a lot of them were traditionally underfunded colleges and universities in the US. In 1992, Congress formally recognized HSIs and targeted federal funding for them, thanks to the efforts of the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, which is the membership association for HSIs. Federal funding grew for HSIs through the 2000s, but it hasn't matched the growth of HSIs and students, which have both tripled since the 1980s. So the population of Latino and Hispanic students has tripled, as well as the number of HSIs, but the federal funding resources have not, which is an issue that a lot of us advocates would keep advocating for and want to see addressed, so that these students are served by these institutions in ways that will continue to help them to achieve success. They are educating the majority of Latinos in our country, so that Latinos and Hispanics in our country, the majority are being educated and are graduating from HSIs. So if we look at the numbers, how many HSIs are there? What do they look like? There are currently 600 HSIs, which is triple from the 189 that existed in 1994. Why is this growth happening? A large reason for it is because of the exponential growth of the Latino and Hispanic population in the United States, which is requiring more resources to educate them. And also because Hispanic Serving Institutions, to be designated as such, there is an enrollment component for that. As Latino enrollment increases at institutions across the US, more institutions and more colleges and universities are qualifying to be Hispanic Serving Institution to receive that designation. 60% of HSIs are four-year institutions, 20% are two-year institutions. We have seen a lot of growth in the past decades of two-year institutions being HSIs, and a big reason for that is accessibility for students. So a lot of Latino, this isn't the case always, but there is part of Latino culture where they do maybe want to stay at home or stay closer to home, and community colleges are in the community. That's, I mean, by their title, that's what that means, but they're very close to where students live. They're within the community, so courses are extremely accessible, and they're also very affordable. Almost half, so 45% of enrollment at HSIs are Latino students. So they are almost half Latino. Another thing to know, though, is that many HSIs are some of the most diverse colleges and universities in the country. So they are educating Latino students, but they're also educating other underrepresented populations, including first-generation students and Pell-eligible students. And this is, to me, this was a really surprising, but yet important fact. HSIs only represent 20% of all colleges and university, but they enroll 60% of all Latino undergraduates. So again, they're a very small subsector of all colleges and university, but they are providing they're providing education, college education, to the majority of Latino students in the United States. So that impact, as you can imagine, for Latino students, that impact is huge. The impact that HSIs, the small subset of colleges, the impact is humongous. We're going to talk a little bit about where they are. So geographically, they are concentrated in very specific states, mostly due to where that Latino population growth is happening, or where there are larger populations of Latinos. I do also want to mention, this is from Excelencia in Education, this map, emerging HSIs that you will see on this map. These are institutions that are getting very close to the enrollment percentage needed to become HSIs. So HSIs are growing. There are a lot of emerging HSIs that are very close to becoming HSIs in the future. So how to talk for counselors watching this, how to talk to students about HSIs. Something really important to know is that the Latino, Latinx, Hispanic diaspora is extremely diverse. So we are not just talking, when we talk about Latinos and Hispanic students, we are not just talking about, there is no mold, there is no monolithic identity to that associated with that identity. There are 63 million Latinos in the US, represented by 20 different countries. And there is no singular Latino experience. I've counseled other Latinos, for examples, even Mexican Americans in my own city who had completely different life experiences than I did, even though we have that shared identity. So that is something to keep in mind when you're counseling students of how diverse the diaspora is. So student-centered advising tips when you're talking to students about HSIs, which are obviously provide a lot of opportunity for Latino students and a lot of resources, is to not make assumptions. Latino students, again, have very different, identify differently with their Latino or Hispanic origin. You may find students who would be excited to go to an HSI, and other students may not have any interest in that, and that's all right. So not making assumptions and instead asking questions to assess what matters to the student. The important thing is giving them options and letting them decide. Identity is complicated and very personal. Different Latinos or Hispanic students may connect to their culture in very different ways or have intersectional identities that they are still navigating and figuring out. And all of that is all right. There is no right or wrong way to identify with your culture. So when you're advising about HSIs, it's more about letting them know what opportunities are there and that they exist, and educating students about these options along with other college options, whether that be an HBCU or a predominantly white institution. It's letting them understand what is out there for them. And ultimately remembering that this is the student's journey. We're just here to empower them with knowledge and viable options. These HSIs are known for being very affordable options and providing a lot of student support to help students not only enroll, but be successful in graduating. But it's our job to tell students about those opportunities, but then let them make the decision and be here for them for moral support. I know that was very short and fast, but I hope that was helpful. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for joining us.
Perfecto. That was wonderful.
When you said 5 minutes, did you mean 5 minutes till 10 minutes or 5 minutes till 15? Because I was like, oh my God, I'm already going to be at 15. And so I kind of rushed.
No. That alert pops up automatically. And I didn't anticipate it popping up. It's the global meet thing where it just gives us a warning that we are approaching. I think I set this up for like 30 minutes. So it gives
okay. I got that 5-minute alert and I was like, oh my God. So, but it looks like it was a good amount of time, right? It was still
perfect. And I always forget to let my presenters know about that potential alert.
Well, I guess because you asked me, you know what I mean? You asked me if I wanted you to let me know. And so I was like, I thought that's what that was, but it looks like the timing ended up being good, like right about what you needed it to be, right?
Yep. Timing was perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to segue into asking you, just for some tips for our new counselors. So then I'll cut and slice this part.
Sure.
All right. So you have a great deal of wisdom in the school counseling field. And we have so many new counselors that are entering this wonderful profession. Do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to share with counselors who are new to the profession?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for all that you do and for entering this amazing profession, which can be really challenging, but also so rewarding. So first of all, thank you for that. I guess my second piece of advice, especially when advising diverse populations, is to give yourself grace and to not feel like you have to be perfect. And I know you're all here to help students. That's why we're all in this career. But it can be sensitive talking to students about their cultural backgrounds or their identities. And we all make mistakes. I know I've made plenty where maybe I made an assumption accidentally, and then the student was like, no, I'm not interested in that, or that doesn't apply to me. And that's okay if that happens. I feel like sometimes it can be paralyzing if you're worried about having some of these more personal conversations with students. It can be paralyzing if you think you have to get everything exactly right. But I encourage you to just be yourself and be human. Students, I think, relate to that, and to just do your best to find out who they are and to give them these options. And if you're at a school that is humongous, which a lot of public schools that are near me here in Austin, Texas, or in Texas in general, are pretty big, and it's not always possible to meet one-on-one with every student. In that case, it's just about making sure these options, so HSIs, for example, are available. That information is available in a place that students and parents have access to, whether that's a website or handouts you give. But again, don't worry about being perfect. It's about connecting with students and doing your best to provide them with information and resources.
Thank you.
Did you find this content for counselors useful? Make sure you check out our YouTube channel and our website at collegeboard.org/counselors to find tons of resources and videos designed specifically for high school counselors.